ready.
Okay, let's talk to... Ooh, we have an anonymous caller.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. The phone number was anonymous. Martin in Ecuador? Martin?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm calling because I'm confused.
Okay. Maybe we can help. I don't know. What's up?
Well, I've been an atheist for most of my life. I'm 57. But for the last 10 years, I've been watching the Atheist Experience and Matt and all the guys there and then your guys' news program and listening to Atwell and Ellis, that Ellis guy and I mean, Hitchens. I'm more confused today whether Jesus really existed or didn't exist or whether the Romans started it. You guys listen to this stuff every single day. Do you got any idea what's going on? It's
So here's
a mess to me, right?
Well, so here's my take on it, man. Yeshua is a name that existed at the time. So was there somebody named Yeshua who lived at that time? Most likely. We also know that there were apocalyptic prophets or apocalyptic rabbis that were peddling different ideas around at that time. Just in the same way that we talk about the Second Great Awakening in the United States. You have people peddling, their versions of religions and things like that. And so to have an apocalyptic, subsect splitting off, those things, okay. All those things are reasonable. Even if we granted that the leader of that group's name was Yeshua, who cares, man? I mean, really, the thing that we care about is the miracle claims. We care about whether or not he walked on water. We care about whether or not he died for your sins, and multiplied bread and fishes and healed the sick and resurrected after 3 days. Those are the things. I know you.
I understand what people believe,
but who cares?
To get down, will we ever know exactly what happened? Back 2,000 years ago.
Dude, I don't know what happened this morning. I'm just talking about it in my own life.
But I listened to all these theories of what happened back then, and they're funny stories, I think. And then, I listen to Yuval Harari and how humans like to create stories, and whether you're opening up a business or whatever you're trying to do, you need to get enough people to believe in you, to follow you. I guess that's what you're doing. Get enough people to follow you to help pay the bills. And
I think we might be a little bit different there. But
if we're all just making up stories, to make a living, and religion made up the story to make a living, to pay the priests and padres and whatever. I remember when I was in the States, if I was working down south, I had a...
Hello? Oh, looks like we lost him.
Oh, it's a bummer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think there are people who get too, there are people on either end of the spectrum, right? There are people who are like, Jesus definitely existed and everything is accurate and it happened exactly when the Bible claims and all of that. And then there are people on the other end who don't want to grant anything. And so they're like, Jesus never existed. This was completely made up by the Catholic Church in 300 whenever. And this is none of this is real at all. And I think both of those are positive claims that I don't have evidence for. So I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. And I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe there was a rabbi of one of the 30-something apocalyptic Jewish cults of the time who was... crucified, sure, why not? Like, let's grant it for the sake of this conversation, because crucifixion was the most common way that the Roman soldiers, executed people. So that's not particularly interesting at all. And then eventually it became a legend, right? You can see as you look at the gospel stories, the ones that were written first didn't have a resurrection, didn't have very many miracles. It was pretty much just, hey, there was this dude and he said some cool shit. And then you look at the next ones and you see how they built on that one and added miracles and added like storylines that weren't there before. And then you get to John, which was written the latest of the four gospels, and you see very, very mystical, legendary type things start springing up. And that's very common. That's what happens when you start a myth. It happens in every culture, for every mythology. There's probably some grain of truth there, sure, but that doesn't mean that I'm granting anything outside of the fact that, sure, a person who this is based on may have existed at some point, but until you can give me more than that, I don't see a need to follow that road further. That's as much as I'm willing to grant, and it doesn't really impact my life at all.
Yep, pretty much. That just brings to mind a line from David Fitzgerald's book, Nailed, and he compares earlier written books that you have the meek and mild Jesus that cries out, God, take this cup from my hand. This is too much. Mm-hmm. And then the later super heroic, extra buff, up on the cross and turning and forgiving the other people of the sides, and
Oh, there's a gospel that was written around the same time period that we don't have in the Bible. It's there's a giant ghostly cross that shows up. Like, Jesus rises from the dead, and then he's huge, and then there's this gigantic cross that's also huge and glowy and like walks around. And like it's very fat. That's Bart Ehrman's book, Lost Gospels or Lost Scriptures.
That is so weird. I mean, who wants their murder implement ghosting around with them? Like, if you get shot, does like the ghost of the gun that shot you just kind of follow you around as like a reminder? That would suck.
That would really suck, yeah. But no, like if you read the other gospels that were written and you read kind of how this legend became what it is, it's very intuitive. It makes sense that this is how it would grow and change and be blown out of proportion. And yeah, I don't know. To me, that sufficiently explains why we have the books that we have.